Do you ever cringe when your coworker has a problem and says, I'm going to HR? Let's talk about why you have good reason not to trust HR.
Toby, doesn't HR have some rules against talking about this kind of stuff?
Aaron, HR is a joke. I can't do anything about anything.
HR, or the Human Resources Department, is a small part of any company, but they show up whenever something is going down. When you're getting hired, when you're getting fired, when you're getting paid or not, when you're getting promoted or not, or even when you're just getting chewed out by the boss. HR is either the one doing it or sitting right beside the boss when it happens. HR workers themselves are forbidden from unionizing most of the time, actually, which may raise some big question marks for most of us. It's because they're considered confidential employees, but what this really means is that they act as a tool for management. Specifically, they have come to take on some of management's core jobs, but often are also the ones who do the company's dirty work or cover it up. Let's take it back to their roots. The earliest version of HR arguably begins with the start of industrial production in the US, where workplaces start to get bigger and bigger, and they need to manage larger groups of people. HR would take on hiring, firing, and cutting checks for the workers at this point. Once industrialization really started to explode in the US, HR entered their new role, getting the workers to do as much as possible for as little as possible. Also, the company could squeeze as much as they could out of them. They called this scientific management, pioneered by the likes of brutal capitalists like Henry Ford and Alfred Sloan. And soon, HR people were stocking the factory floor with clipboards and timers to surveil workers and clock their performance, all for the sake of pushing speed-ups in production and axing any workers who couldn't make the cut. Modern HR, though, takes on a different look around that same time. With the brutal working conditions in factories, labor organizing was flourishing to fight back against speed-ups and wage cuts like never before. At the National Cash Register Company in 1901, workers were organizing massive walkouts and strikes against the company. In the past, companies fought union organizing through violent vigilantes busting heads, as well as surveillance and sabotage by company spies, leading to things like the attacks on and lynching of union leaders, the Haymarket Massacre, the Ludlow Massacre, the Latimer Massacre, and on and on and on. These massacres didn't exactly play well for the companies, and they started to take more heat for their violent repression of the workers. As a result, they started to change their tactics. Back to the National Cash Register Company. They were ahead of the curve and decided instead of responding with violence, they would form the country's first personnel department, or HR. The idea was that they would frame this department as the place to bring all of your issues and grievances, and that they would be your advocate who would work with you to solve the problem. Why do you need a union? You have HR. They essentially tried to capture the idea of the union having your back and housed it in the company itself, where it works for them and their bottom line. And this is how we still see them work today. Amazon, Walmart, Starbucks, and just about every corporate giant says the same thing now. We don't need a union. We have an open door policy. HR says that they're your friend, but when it comes down to you or the company, they're gonna do what's good for the company every time. As time went on, HR became a fixture of corporate America and a permanent extension of management. They can be fake friends to the workers, subvert union organizing when they catch it early on, carry out the union busting campaigns, and do whatever it takes to put the company's interest above all else. Those fake friends may offer you an open door and welcome you in, but if you want some real friends to help fix it, take those issues back to your coworkers instead.